Well, today we're going to talk about key binding and what it is and why we do it. It just makes life much easier in many games, and we're going to see what we could do in EverQuest. So, first thing is, I want to just quickly explain gaming mentality. Um, you know, there are terms where it's DPS, damage per second, APM, actions per minute, how much heals you're getting off and average per spell and things like that. So the tendency is those that push buttons and do more actions per minute are going to get greater results. Like a very simple, example would be fully raid gear person, but is AFK versus a poorly geared person that's actually doing something. So the results obviously are the person that's not AFK is going to lose, right, in a parse and things like that. So we're looking to optimize our actions per minute, how many things we do, and how often we do it as quickly as possible to get the most results out of our character. So first thing and foremost is what is key binding? Key binding is basically attaching actions or spells or whatnot to a single keystroke, so it simplifies the matter. Rather than your mouse or you're pushing different buttons, you're doing one button at one time and repeatedly pressing it to get repeated actions or spells cast. So first thing is what you want to do is clear out your bar from top to bottom. All right, and the reason why is, and I'll explain a little bit, is your spells are going to cast from top to bottom. So you want to prioritize what you want um, casted first, and then second, third, fourth, and so forth like that. So I'm going to load my spell set, and this is going to be for clerics, and you're going to start seeing them load up. As you see, I do Symbol of Soothing, and again, this is how I play. This is not a video about how to do a cleric or anything like that, but this is just what I do. And then I load up 3 remedies, a renewal, a light, and then a group heal, and then some buffs, blah, blah, blah. So let this load up real quickly. Okay, next is you want to think about whether it be on your keyboard, your gaming mouse, or your gaming pad, whatever it is. Right now, in your regular day-to-day play, what button you don't use but you have easy access to? Some suggestions that I've heard are Q, uh, a mouse auxiliary button, the button to the left of the one, somewhere, but you make that determination yourself. Figure out what button is going to be good for you. Once you determine that button, you're going to go to Options, Keys, and then for this example here, we're going to go to Spell Casting, and then simply put in the alternate tab um, what button you want. So for me is mouse auxiliary button 1, and you'll see I assigned it to spell gem 1, spell gem 2, spell gem 3, spell gem 4, spell gem 5. Right? What you want to do at this point also is, because everyone is going to pick a different button, is go to all, right? And then just like an Excel spreadsheet, you're going to sort, and then you're going to look for that button that you placed. So you'll see here mouse auxiliary button only shows up for spell casting. And then there's some hotbars, and I'll get to that in a second, but I don't see it used anywhere else. All right, so if, for example, if you pushed this little squiggly thing, the left to number 1, you're just gonna look for it, see if it's anywhere else, because if it is, then you're gonna have some conflict, so you want to clear it out. So let's say, for example, it was my uh, stand and sit key had that button. So you would literally be standing up and down while you're trying to uh, cast, and that would not be a good thing. So you definitely want to double check to make sure that whatever button you choose is not attached to a different action. Otherwise, you can be screwed. So one thing to keep in mind now also is that these keybinds is saved on your machine. It's not per account. So for example, if you play multiple characters on the same account, better make sure if they're casters that you're doing the same idea as the spell lineup that you want prioritized from top to bottom, because if you don't, it's going to screw you up. So before you noticed that I had some action, like a hotbar thing. I believe it was action 10. So the reason why I have the same button on action 10 is not because of anything I do with my cleric. It's actually because of the warrior that I play. On the warrior, I have my hotbar that I spam there. So obviously warrior doesn't cast, so there won't be any conflicts. So I'm able to play my warrior and cleric on the same machine using the same spam key without having to worry about it. So this motion here that you see here is me healing and then alt tabbing and spamming my hotbar at the same time and making it ideally. Like you see how easy it is I'm able to do multiple characters, multiple actions by pressing one button and switching between screens and just repeat the process. So that's basically key binding and such with spell prioritization. So real quickly, while we're on Ganarok screen, I want to just get slightly technical with people because initially at the start of the video I was talking about actions per minute, and optimizing your time doing the most things that you can at a given moment. So some quick terms. There's spell cooldown and global spell cooldown. What are those? Spell cooldown is if you look over at your spell, let's say I'm going to cast the top one first, and you see that that specific spell has a longer cooldown. I cannot cast it right away. Global cooldown is when you cast a spell and everything grays out. You can't cast something. So we could all agree, whether it be spell cooldown or global cooldown, there's a dead period, whether it's like a second and a half or something like that, that you can't cast any spells. But that doesn't mean you can't do anything. Anytime that you have a global cooldown or a spell cooldown, you're actually able to hit AA buttons or items. So mod rod or horn. So you're able, if you're quick enough to manage your buttons and such, you're going to get more actions per minute and thus greater output out of your character being better at the game. And, use your imagination with your UIs, tie it to different buttons. Now, the one thing that I'm going to warn people about is if you keybind spells and a hotbar at the same time. The prioritization is a bit weird. You're not going to get what you want right away. So, for example, on my wizard, when I keybind, I have a separate hotkey for her nukes, like her AA nukes and her item clicky nukes. So I spam button once, hit that button, and then alternate. Um, to my knowledge, there isn't any way to control the spam button with hotbar and spells at the same time. So play around with it though and find your comfort spot. But this is the basic idea of how to cast spells in succession um, in a much easier fashion, and you're gonna get greater output out of your character. Or if you're playing multiple characters on the same machine, you'll see that it makes it a world a hell of a lot easier. You just gotta know your class and what buttons to spam or what spells to spam, and certainly we could make another video about that down the road, but I want to keep this one simple. So that's it. And if you guys have any questions, again, feel free to contact me and have a good day.